Welcome. I'm Hannah.
I'm Kelty.
We are twins, mothers, and works in progress, and this is Upbringing, our video and podcast series that talks about the hard stuff being the good stuff, how we're all growing up alongside our kids.
We like to talk about ways to get more comfortable in the most uncomfortable times with our kids, mostly around tricky behaviors.
Why?
That they might be exhibiting and that we might be exhibiting sometimes.
Right.
Why?
Because that's where all of the potential for growth lies. That's where the joy lies. That's where we can grow up alongside them and learn some skills and get closer and give them some skills too.
So we have another Dear Upbringing episode today where a parent writes in about a tricky morning transition time, which I'm sure you've also experienced.
Pretty universal.
The beginning of our existence, everybody.
Do you want to read it?
Yeah, I'll read it. Right. Dear Upbringing, lately my 4-year-old son has made getting out of the door in the morning really difficult. Some days he is unable to get himself dressed, brush his teeth, or put his shoes and socks on, even though he's been doing it primarily on his own for over a year. He cries that the clothes aren't right or whines that he needs help, throws his body on the ground, grunts, chucks things, and sometimes full-on tantrums. When I'm able to pause getting ready to help him, it's almost worse, maybe in part because he can sense how stressed I am. All of a sudden, I'm the one, quote-unquote, doing it all wrong, and it makes it harder for me to kindly explain to him that he knows how to do this stuff, that I need to be getting myself and his new baby sister ready to go, and that we can't be late for school. But it unfortunately doesn't seem to get through. I end up threatening and yelling, and we end up late, both in tears. I'm looking for ideas on how to be better support to my son and work as a team in the mornings. Signed, Manic Mama.
Manic Mama.
Manic Mama. We're all Manic Mamas.
Totally.
A little bit.
Cheers to that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Okay, this is a great one. Intro. Wow, do we feel you,
We
Manic
totally
Mama.
feel you here.
The morning transition is a universal dilemma. I think for most all of us.
I think most transitions are difficult, but mornings in particular,
Yeah.
why are they so hard? And like we've talked about in the last year, Upbringing, with the toothbrushing being a morning activity as well, it's just hard starting your day off on that foot. Like crying and yelling and feeling frustrated. Nobody has a good day after that.
Yeah, but think about too, like what needs to happen in the morning. There are things that need to happen, and there's a deadline. And
there's a lot of juggling.
I have trouble getting myself ready on time in the morning, and then all of a sudden throw in a baby and a child to feed, dress, keep happy, get food for, including myself. That's just a fucking lot to juggle. Like, well done.
Yeah, I remember feeling really torn when I had a new baby too. It's like, it's one thing having a 2 and a 4-year-old now where I'm like, okay, they're kind of on the same page. We can kind of do both things. But that feeling of being so torn because your kids are at such different skill levels and have such different needs. I remember being like, if I set the baby down to go help my 2.5-year-old, then the baby's crying. If I'm working with the baby, then the 2.5-year-old's crying.
Yeah.
And just never being able to please everyone is a hard feeling.
And it's so easy and natural, I think, to get pushed to our limit where we need to be in charge, but we do not feel in control because we're managing so many little people and so many logistical things. It makes so much sense that this Manic Mama would get to the point of yelling or crying or threatening.
But we call those like ding dings.
Yeah, those moments of saying like something maybe needs to get realigned, or we need to, remember and engage with some new skills or some new ideas, basically.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm really like happy that she wrote into us.
And I think it's great that she said that she wanted to find ways to support him and be a team. Like, that's exactly the kind of approach that we're going to be talking about. And just ways to kind of like lean into that a little bit more.
Yeah, totally.
Here, I'll take it.
Okay.
So this is good because so many reasons.
So many reasons.
And we love talking about the reasons that this hard shit is good. That's basically what we're going to talk about this whole episode.
Everything that's going on with this shitty situation is super valuable. It, we like to see it as a building block, not as an obstacle or as a stumbling block. We like to see it as an opportunity to learn more about ourselves, how to simplify our morning routines, how to engage better with our kids and their needs.
How to better understand their needs, what they might be going through developmentally. What else?
For them to learn to understand their emotions better and to be able to communicate their needs, to feel loved.
For them to feel more like a team member and build some independent skills.
Yeah, but this problem creates all of these opportunities to be growing with our kids, and it's pretty awesome. We have to think of it that way. Otherwise, why would we want to engage with it? Yeah. Otherwise, we would just want to yell and cry all the time, and that's not quite as fun.
That sucks.
Yeah. So, a couple insights and considerations before we begin.
I just have a few.
I feel like the elephant in the room,
the baby elephant.
The baby elephant in the room is this new baby.
That was kind of snuck in like almost towards the end of the letter, being like, oh, and there's a new baby.
Yeah, and new babies. Wow. I want to say it was like Dr. Spock or somebody, but a lot of people talk about a new baby as in like this metaphor of your partner bringing home this like new lover. And you have to share.
Like, this is my other wife.
Yeah, this is my other wife. Let's share a bed. Let's share all this time. Let's share me, essentially, and how hard that can be and tough for our kids, even when they seem to be doing okay, even when
they're nice and sweet to the baby.
Right, it's still a huge process.
Yeah.
A separation from our time, a separation in some ways from our love and that sense of attachment. It feels a little risky for kids to have a new sibling in the house.
And leading to that attachment stuff, leading into that a little bit, is that mornings are really hard, and bedtimes can be really hard around those times too, because you're becoming disattached from your kid. You're having to say, there's separations, you're having to say goodbye. And so it's really understandable and natural that it's not always that like at the school when you're passing them off, but sometimes it's we're leaving home, this is building up, this is leading up to me having to say goodbye to this person who I miss, who's spending time with another little baby now, who all these things.
Well, and as far as our 4-year-olds at this age and stage, like you were saying, Kelty, they're they don't have the skills, the communication skills to explain how they're feeling. They don't have the emotional skills to self-regulate. They flood with their emotions quite often. And a lot of times the stress that they're feeling can come out in these weird moments of like, can't get a pant leg on, and it's like the end of the world. Or refuses to get dressed and insists on help. Like, it's so easy, I think, for us to pay attention to like what that situation is and be like, let's just fix it. What the fuck's the problem? Yeah. But what we try to do is be looking under the behaviors for those deeper needs. And definitely kids at this age have a lot of needs going on, a lot of developmental behaviors going on.
But I think that said too, so that's looking underneath the behavior for a need, but also generally they have what's called frustration intolerance. So even if there's no underlying need necessarily, they just get more frustrated more quickly, and some kids are way more prone to it. Yeah. My children are very prone to frustration intolerance. And just learning that term has helped me be like, oh, they're just having this thing. It's called frustration intolerance. They're not like trying to kill me with this.
Right.
Like my daughter's pants just won't wiggle right. They're too wiggly. Whatever the thing is.
We've been there. But generally speaking, so our kids' brain development it's still, as we always say, it's under construction. It's in process. It is not what we would necessarily hope or want for a little buddy in the morning, but that's what it is. Also, as far as skills go, I think so much of the frustration here that I've experienced in the morning as well is that, my 4-year-old has been getting themselves dressed, doing that stuff, and then all of a sudden they can't do it anymore. And like, it feels so unfair. And unfair is that to feel like
I just got this off my plate.
Yeah, or to feel like this is manipulative behavior, or this is ridiculous, and that if they can do it, then they should continue to do it. But research shows, which it always feels good to know that there's research out there that backs up this idea that just because a kid can actually do something doesn't mean that they are emotionally able to do it all the time.
There are two types of readiness: emotional readiness and physical readiness.
Right. And so it sounds in this example like this kid has that physical readiness most of the time, but maybe because of the stress of a new baby or new school or just growing pains in general, or morning stress in general, this kid's unable to, needs help with doing this thing, emotionally unable to get themselves dressed.
But these types of situations end up sort of pushing us to this feeling of like, either I have to do all of it, or I push it all on their plate, like master or slave. And I think that what we're going to be talking about is that middle way, like we talk about. Basically, 4 ways, our 4 powers: respect, connect, we'll go through them, but to work that middle way, work behind the scenes, work creatively, as opposed to controlling or feeling totally helpless.
Feeling controlled,
Feeling controlled or controlling.
Yeah. Control pushes us to extremes. It's either they're in charge or we're in charge. And we need to be in charge, but working with them. And so that's what I feel like that middle way is that parenting side-by-side approach that we're really working on trying to do.
So the 4 powers are respect, connect, innovate, and trust. And we'll be kind of running this situation through those 4 steps.
Yeah, as ideas of these other 4 amazing powers that we have to work with our kids in these tough situations so that we don't have to use control or allow them to use control and feel controlled. That's the idea here.
That's our idea.
So first,
Let's dive into respect.
respect.
Yeah.
Let's see. Respect is about seeing our child as their own person, human, part of our family. And I think it sees our role as the advocate. So we're the one in charge. We're the parent. It's our responsibility and our honor to be able to see to our kids' needs, whatever those are, and however obnoxious they are. What else? We don't have to control. We can be a respectful ally. We can consider that these needs can get met, my needs can get met, the baby's needs can get met. Let's calm down a little bit, see all of us in our beautiful humanity, and we're going to get some shit done with these other powers.
Yeah.
It kind of sets the scene.
Yeah, it's kind of like our
interaction.
priming step that helps us not feel like a victim heading into this situation. So it's just even more mental mantra time, being like, I'm the advocate. I need to get it to everyone's needs. My kid has their own needs. They're just doing the best they can. And we're going to figure this out. It has the faith to figure it out.
And the organization too. I mean, I think it begins with curiosity, saying, why is this happening? So kind of like we talked to in our insights and considerations, there could be some stress at play. Seeing these behaviors that our kids have as either expressing developmental limits, so they're still ebbing and flowing with their getting dressed, or maybe in this case, because there's so much emotion around it, maybe there's also some unmet needs going on because of the stress of the new baby or whatever. So asking that why, wanting to find out, not just react to the behavior, but act and
I think too, in that priming step, it's deciding to meet our kids where they are. It's saying, they might be way below where I thought they should be this morning based on all these other things, but I'm going to meet them where they are because they're doing their best and they're showing me what they need. And it's about leaning into this idea of they need help and changing our brains around from saying they won't do that to they just can't do that. And that it's a
we
big
would
ask.
hope someone would extend that same respectful
Courtesy
to us
and perspective.
when we can't do something. It's not necessarily because we won't, it's because we are unable to in that moment. And our kids definitely, when they can't do something, it's because they can't, either developmentally or needs based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this step is really more of kind of like a mindset leading into the interactions, leading into the day, leading into all of that.
Yeah.
Is just saying there's going to be some stuff going down potentially, and I want to be in a relaxed, receptive, responsible, respectful frame of mind going into it. Big picture.
Right. Well, I think too, though, that the respect step does require a little bit of preparation with our kid to say, this is the plan in the morning, to inform. It's a very respectful thing to inform our kid about what the plan is. To say, this new baby, it's going to be different mornings. This isn't quite the same. You don't have as much time with mama. This is a little bit different.
But
now,
and I think that conversation and that respect step often takes place not when they're refusing to put their socks on. That's not when that respectful dialogue happens. It happens at bedtime the night before.
Proactively. This is respect. Part of respect is saying, I can see that these situations might be happening.
That's the
How
big
am I going to
picture.
head that off?
Yeah.
How am I going to prepare for this so that everyone's needs can be met as best as possible? But obviously, we have a new baby. This is a new situation. Everyone's needs are not always going to be met. So we're going to use these other powers from beginning with respect to kind of see what we can get done.
Yeah, and just the rest of that big picture is that's going to help us communicate to our kid that they are seen, that they are valued as a member of the household and an important part of the household. And that's just not just the right thing to do, but that's going to get a lot of buy-in and a lot of collaboration and cooperative
Goodwill.
vibes going
Yeah,
for the rest of the interactions.
We're leaders. Let's inspire.
Yeah.
That's the idea behind respect. So how can we do that for this morning situation?
I love that. Next step. Connect.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's our role and mindset here, Kel?
Oh, well, I think just the main point of Connect is that our ability to connect is the most powerful tool we have with our kids. It's the main deal. We have to connect to show love. We have to connect to get a point across. We have to connect to understand, or to make anything happen, to move forward with anything. So we like to think that we're taking on this role of the empath, where we are listening, not judgmentally, where we are being open, where we are deciding that we don't know the whole story and that we're trying to put ourselves in their shoes a little bit.
Right.
What else?
Well, we welcome his emotions. I think it's so tough in this situation to be like, well, let's say that, we have done everything we can to kind of communicate the boundaries, the limitations, the information with our kid in the morning, this new routine with the baby. But then our kid starts whining and having trouble with getting dressed. So immediately to connect, I think it's so easy to be like, keep putting our mascara on and be like, get dressed. Like, we've all been there.
Oh, yeah.
But
we're breezing from one room to the other, being like, I can't help you right now. I need to.
How about that pant leg? But Connect is one of those things where it's an investment, but it pays off longer than if we hadn't connected.
It's true.
I think I've begun to realize that sometimes I'll just skip to these later steps, or I'll try to control, and I realize, wow, this is taking actually way longer. This meltdown situation that has developed.
It's like prolonging all this crap instead of nipping it in the
That if I
bud.
had just gotten down and connected right away.
Yeah.
So what does that look like?
Let's
What are
talk
some
about
ideas about how this mama could connect in the morning with her kid to kind of help the situation?
Well, do you want to talk about kind of preemptive connecting first?
Sure, let's do
We could
it.
talk about that. If we could just build morning time into our routine before the shit hits the fan, where we can just be filling our kids' cups a little bit, like
just little moments.
Yeah, just be able to pull them into bed, or sit by their bed when they're waking up, or cuddle and read one book, and
to start the morning
just to
off
start
well.
it off feeling connected.
I think we feel that with our partners too.
Oh,
that
sure.
it would be nice to get like a little kiss on the cheek in the morning before they roll out of bed,
or a text in the middle of the day, just checking in,
or like a butt slap or whatever,
Whatever.
just to connect the dots a little bit and be like, oh yeah, I know you.
But you know that
I like
feeling
you.
when you're like breezing through ships in the night with your partner all the time, being like, I need to feel that string where we're connected.
Or you don't even notice that the string isn't there until a little hiccup comes along, or one of you isn't feeling so hot, and then you both tank pretty fast
because you're disconnected.
Yeah, there wasn't that connection. So that's a great idea, Kel. I think as far as a preventative way to begin the morning with some good eye contact, with a little cuddle or snuggle.
It takes a little more effort to just put it in ahead of time to keep them feeling nurtured. What else? Physical proximity.
Yeah.
So like we talked about, put the mascara down, walk over in your underwear, whatever it needs. What do we try to do? We just try to get down on their level. We get close. We put a hand on. We say, hey, how's it going?
And our kids
making eye
might
contact.
Our kids might say, "This won't do. I can't do it." Blah blah blah. And we just acknowledge, empathize, hear them.
This is
listen,
listening time.
Repeat.
Yeah.
Just get their experience, because
So what would we say to this boy?
the sooner our kids feel heard, the sooner they can move past those emotions and move on to independence and getting themselves
But I think
dressed.
some people worry, if I'm repeating those frustrations or those feelings, aren't I going to just be feeding them,
Encourage
feeding the
them.
fire? Yeah.
No. I mean, emotions are like weather. We move through them. And I think that the more support we can have, again, we talked last episode about how we're our kids' co-regulators right now. They don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the prefrontal cortex to be able to move themselves from flooded with emotion to self-regulated. So it's our job to help support them in these moments. And that involves us acknowledging and showing them that we understand and that we care about them. That will help calm our kids' brains down, so that they can then be like, well, make a choice about what they're wearing or whatever.
So we'd say something like, it seems like you're really struggling getting these socks on. So that sock is too blue. It sounds like it's really too blue. And those pants won't wiggle right when you put them on. Oh, that can be really tricky. Or you sound really frustrated.
Yeah. Or it's also tough, like our baby might be crying, or we might be nursing when this happens. And we can say from the other room, I hear you. You are struggling. You sound upset. I will be right there. So anything we're doing from anywhere, we want to be as close to our kid as we can, as we're able to. But I think so much about Connect is about that physical thing, but it's also just about our faces, about our tone of voice, really saying, I want to understand you with our behavior, not just what our words.
Just making it feel like a safe place and a safe moment to just really connect. And the tricky part with this is to not put up our agenda right away. Because like we've talked about before, connect to us in the moment when we're reacting, often when we haven't done our first step of respect, means getting in their face and repeating the thing that we need. That's connecting to us.
With our need.
With our needs.
Yeah.
So the way we try to do the connect step first is to be leaning into just listening, being open, being safe, being loving.
Because this is an unmet need situation, so let's meet that need. And then we have a morning helper.
Yeah.
So,
and then thinking about connecting in later times as well. We talked about doing it maybe in the morning to kind of, and little anchor points to fill his cup as you go. But also talking about the new baby situation, and I'm sure that's been tackled already, but what we'd try to do is just check in about it in the evening or something, and say something like, wow, mornings have been really hard lately, haven't they? And it's been a lot to juggle with the new baby. How have you been feeling with it? They might not say anything at all.
Okay.
But just checking in and acknowledging that this is tough on everybody, and just letting that be an open-ended, wow, this has been tough, you know?
Yeah, and just finding those points and allowing that frustration when our kids do express that frustration with the baby or in general. Keeping that open mind of saying they need to express this. If they don't express it, they repress it. And then it comes out in getting dressed in the morning. So allow those opportunities when there isn't a timeline, so that our kids can be expressing.
Yeah, but I think that the big ask here is that sometimes it feels really permissive. Letting our kids yell things, especially if they're directed at us in a negative way, it makes us feel like a doormat, you know, or like, why should I let them treat me like crap?
Or for this mother who her son she's trying to help him and he's saying that she's not doing it right. That feels so really hard to be wanting to respectfully connect and have it be like shoved back in your face. It's really hard. But the idea is that it's getting through there. You know, we've all been there in those times when we're in a really bad mood and people are reaching out and we're still not ready to like be nice.
But inside we're like, please just keep going. Please keep
helping me, please.
Don't stop. Don't give up on me.
You know, and I'm imagining that the times that this kid melts down, we didn't really get all the details, or maybe when he's left too long, you know, or resisted, saying, you can do it, you can get dressed, we're going to be late, it might ramp up to the point where, you know, he completely dysregulates because it's happened. But I'm imagining and I'm hoping that if this mom can work through some of these connect steps earlier on and nip it in the bud right away, right when she sees, I'm hearing some whining, I'm going to get in there right away, that a meltdown might not happen. And if it does, then it needed to happen.
Yeah. But that's a big one, hearing that behavior starting to turn and going to it like a magnet, as opposed to being like,
oh God. Yeah, exactly.
You know? So I think big picture here, this is a time where we can get ahead of the game a little bit and where we can connect with our kid, whether they're able to do it back, to show that goodwill, to show that we love them unconditionally, to show that we know that they're struggling and they just need help. And it's a big one because we're like, we need help. I need help. You need help. We all fucking need help. But that's our job. That's the job. Our job is the advocate, and we dive into the empath stage to connect with our kid, to hopefully resolve some of these kind of anxieties and these angsty feelings,
and promote more willingness for independence, like getting dressed.
Cooperation is more likely with when we lean in and connect that way.
It's not permissive. It's productive. That's what we like to say.
I like that. Okay, next. I want to throw it. Okay.
Innovate.
The fun step.
So we've respected, seen our kid as human,
like the recap,
having needs that we need to help meet as their advocate. We've connected, where we've shown them that we're there unconditionally. We've helped them understand their emotions maybe a little bit more and feel heard, so that their brains could calm down. And now it's time to, get some shit done through this Innovate step. What do we like to think of ourselves as, Kel?
Well, we like to think of it generally as working side by side, like all the other steps as well. But we like to channel what we call the creative. And that's where we can kind of channel these feelings of creativity, flexibility, curiosity, just that we're going to find a way.
Optimism.
It's not about fixing it. It's not about fixing our kid. It's not about stopping something. It's about...
Hopefully it is, but that's not the main
That would be
reason.
awesome.
Sure.
But the main thing is saying, what can we do? We need ideas. And it's also the time that we can finally put our agenda out there a little bit more. Once we've respected them going into it, once we've listened compassionately and empathetically, then we can say, so here's what I'm seeing, and we've asked what's up, and now we can say, my concern is, it's this time, so what can we do to get everyone dressed? Because we still have this to do. Now I'm doing your finger thing where I'm counting and pointing. It's contagious.
We need ideas. We need ideas, honey, you know?
I like
and
that.
I think that oftentimes our kids are maybe too dysregulated at that point to be helping to make decisions.
Yeah, so it falls on us to be coming up with some ideas.
Yeah, and I think
We don't want to pack on the pressure.
No, we don't want to add more indecision and stress for them.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. So, but we need some ideas. But our approach is collaborative. Our approach is side by side, whether or not our kid is able to or willing to engage with us collaboratively.
So one thing we can do is offer choices. Like we've talked about in the toothbrushing one. What are some things we could do for choices? Having different outfits out that our kid could choose from. Saying, do you want to put your shirt on now and then we'll put pants on after we go brush teeth? Just little things for them opportunities for them to grab onto to kind of like regain a little bit of control themselves. We want to give them opportunities to take control of the things that aren't a big deal to us, but that make them feel good.
And the goal here, I think, for this mom is to basically do as little as she possibly can with this child, because she's got to take care of the baby and herself and get everyone going. So it's going to require a little bit of work here and there to set the scene for innovation so that he can be doing some little things independently. So that's what these ideas are around, right?
Yeah, totally.
What's another idea?
Just have fun, be silly, make games out of things.
Which is really hard to do before you've had your coffee. Been there? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe get your coffee before. Watch a quick YouTube video to get you in the mood before the kids get up or something.
I have a couple standbys.
But I really do believe that coming into this innovation step, being like, we're going to have fun. This is going to be okay. And the better mood I'm in about this, the better mood my kid is going to be able to engage with too.
It's absolutely true. The times that I'm able to dive into being goofy and silly and do those things, it changes my experience drastically.
And it's also showing our kids we believe that this can get better, not worse. I think that is the most important thing about being silly and about having fun and being creative in that way, even if those things don't end up quote unquote working.
Yeah, sometimes we do silly voices, like accents. Sometimes we do like, let's jump on the pillows like lava to get to the couch where we'll put the clothes on.
Or we're kind of like the bumbling parent, like, do I put the shirt on my feet? You know, like silly things like that. We all know our kids best. So whatever will get a giggle out
Appeal
of our
to
kids
them.
And appeal to them. It's another way of connecting, but it's an idea-based one.
And another thing we could do is get dressed together. Do that stuff more side by side. Sometimes we'll invite our kids to get dressed under the covers in our bed first thing. Or we'll have them stand on the bed while we stand next to them and we get dressed. Now we do shirts. Now we do pants.
This kid sounds like he's missing his mama maybe and needing just that connection, and she may not have to actually dress him. Maybe they just have to be in the same room. Maybe he just has to say, let's both get dressed in my room. You know, or like, why don't you choose, I'm going to put a few outfits on my bed and you can choose which top for me and I'll choose a few for you. Whatever you're willing to do collaboratively to just make him feel included in the morning routine that you used to have before this baby.
Yeah. Another thing that we've done too is ask our kids if they want to wear their clothes to bed for the next day. That's been a huge one for us.
For you. Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, totally.
We've also done wake up and we'll have hidden the clothes somewhere and they get to go look for them essentially, and that just sets them off on a like, I'm excited to find my clothes
it's a
to
challenge.
put them on.
Yeah, we set a timer and are like, we each have a minute to get our clothes on, let's do this.
Yeah. And I want to reiterate really quick, this stuff does not always work. It doesn't. Sometimes we do 6 of them and the 7th one works. Sometimes we do the first one and it works. Sometimes we do 12 and none of them work.
This is a process though.
Yeah.
It's an experience that we're supposed to have. Yeah.
I just had to say that.
Yeah.
What about the routine chart? That's kind of helped you before.
I think that kids at this age, at 4 and younger and even older, it really helps all of us to have a routine, to feel this thread kind of going throughout the day through transitions in the morning and at night. as hard as that is to do. And so sometimes making like a routine chart for yourself and for your kid, they can help participate in it so they kind of know what each thing is. And it seems like this kid is maybe getting stuck and blocked in this immediate step that maybe he used to have help with, or whatever it is. For some reason, this is the problematic part of the morning. And knowing what's next, having like, a natural enticement next of something like, which cereal are you going to choose? Or, let him set out the things for breakfast and then he goes to get dressed. So he kind of knows in his mind, this is what's going to happen after. I can see the other side of this getting dressed situation.
Yeah.
And it's
or when we
okay.
say, so it's time to get dressed, so we'll do that. We can say, so let's get dressed so that then you can help cut up the fruit for breakfast. So kind of planting those things for what's next to help get them in the moment to do it and to not be stuck by that thing they have to do.
Yeah, there's so many ideas, but it helps them. It's not an incentive. It's not a reward. It's just a natural enticement, as we said.
Yeah, and I think the big ask here is to match their stubbornness with stubborn optimism. And it's a big ask. We can't always feel that way. No. With every no that I get from one of my kids, I'm a little more worn down, and some days a lot more worn down, and some days it just pings right off me. And just trying to continue channeling that creative to use it like armor.
And that idea too is that we channel the creative in this Innovate step because we want to get shit done. We want to work with our kid. Any problem we have with our family, the idea is that it's not just our problem, or it's not just our kid's problem. It's our collective problem. And how can we go about solving that together? And the other reason, not just because things can get solved better when two people are working on it, but because through that process, we're giving our kid these skills of innovation, of creative, flexible thinking, of optimism through challenges. And whether or not the Innovate step ends up quote unquote working, we're building those skills. Our kid's seeing us model those skills, if not practicing those skills himself. And so it's all good.
Yeah, big picture, there aren't any failures.
Yeah.
We're throwing those ideas out, and of course we're hoping each one will work. But if it doesn't work or get grabbed onto and participated in, it's not a failure, and we're not a failure. And that's a big one.
Well, because it was based on a learning process rather than control. So there was some good learning no matter what.
Yeah. I think it helps our kids, like you said, have that optimistic point of view and develop resilience and problem-solving skills and just family collaboration vibe, like we're all in this together.
It's been amazing to see our kids, approach their younger siblings and say, you seem really frustrated about that. We need ideas. This is something that we've modeled to them, and now that they're modeling to their younger siblings, and like it
their ideas are really funny too.
It catches on though, so it's pretty magical.
Yeah.
The last step that we want to talk about is trust. And this is a difficult one because it doesn't feel that active. It feels kind of passive. Oh, just
or
trust.
Complacent.
Yeah, or complacent. But I think trusting is saying I've respected myself with these boundaries and communication. I've respected my child with seeing them as unique and whole and needing information. We've connected together to understand one another. We've innovated together to be building collaboration and problem-solving skills. And now I need to trust. I need to think what else needs to get done to move this forward, maybe not through this immediate situation, but for the next time, because that's the beauty of this parenting thing, is that it happens over and over and over. We have a million times to get this right, quote unquote, or to improve.
Even in baby steps.
That's the amazing thing.
Yeah. So in this step of trust and this power of trust, we're trying to embrace what we call the believer. And that's where we try to just channel this like wise old grandma person who just...
A hot grandma.
Hot, obviously. Who can just see it all and trust in the process and embrace with faith what's happening.
Who can see the big picture.
The big picture. And to just try to have this point of view that we're doing our best. Our kids are doing their best. And I always get hung up on that phrase because I feel like when people say, I'm doing my best, and someone says, well, that's not your best. I've seen you do better. And what that means to us is they're doing their best in the moment. I'm doing the very best I can right now with my stressors, my sleep, my hunger, my developmental limitations, which are many. all of those things. So just remembering that also this is a journey. We're playing the long game here. So
it may very well, I think the idea of trust too is believing that nothing is a failure. And it may very well be that this mother needs to end up getting her child dressed every morning for a couple weeks. And that's not a failure, because they'll have done all of these wonderful things to collaborate together and to connect and to build these skills. Even if she still needs to do it, that means he really needed her closeness. He needed her help for whatever unmet need that was going on. And that's all good.
This
it's
step
okay.
is often about having to follow through lovingly and trust that we respected, connected, and innovated, and whatever went down or didn't go down, it's going to be okay, but we just need to make something happen a little bit. Get those socks on, or get in the car, or do all those things.
Right. And I think that you made a good point, Kelty, about how, with that feeling of how differently we as parents can approach this entire scenario. Some days it's okay. Some days we're freaking out. It has so much to do with self-care. And I think thinking about when this bothers me so much, I'm not able to see to the needs of my kid as easily. Why is that? So asking about their needs, but also asking about our needs and saying, my kid needs to be able to trust in me. I have to be able to trust in myself. Let's get that care for myself that I need, so that which is so hard with a new baby. That's a big ask.
But self-care isn't even just about getting enough sleep or feeling happy and rested or nurtured or whatever, but is about just thinking about what we can be doing ourselves as well behind the scenes. Like can we ask our partner to pack lunches? Can we set everyone's clothes out the night before? Can we, what can we be doing when it's not in that stressful moment, caring for ourselves ahead of time for that moment? So thinking, that's me when I'm struggling. What can I do right now to help myself then?
Helping your future self in that way.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. So another thing we talk about in this trust step is circling back. So that part of that is asking what you can do. So back to this situation, I'm asking myself as the advocate, as the empath, as
whether
the
it's
creative.
a debrief, whether it's a postmortem,
whatever it is, with my partner or to myself, but thinking, what can I do next time that can maybe make this a little better? I heard some whining and I didn't really dive in. Maybe I could do that. I had this call also in the morning that really made this difficult.
And part of the trust step too is circling back with our kids, whether it's once we get in the car and everything kind of blows over, and maybe talking about, hey, that was a little tricky getting in the car and whatever, but we like to be face-to-face connecting about those things. So sometimes car isn't as good, but maybe at dinner we can kind of fill our partner in on what happened. That's what we do. Like, I wanted to tell you a story about this morning. It was a little tricky getting in the car and doing all our stuff, wasn't it? And your partner can be like, oh, really? What happened? And it's not storytelling in a shamey way, but it's sort of like, here was this thing that we went through that you weren't a part of, or that you didn't know about.
But
or it could
I tend to like it in the cuddly.
I know you do.
One-on-one one where, I have my arms around him. He knows, our kids know they're loved. And then we say, let's talk about this a little bit. What kind of ideas when we're in a receptive, not a reactive state? But that's part of that trust step is circling back, seeing what we can do. Again, going through the steps again of respect, wanting to talk to them and communicate with them in the first place about it, connect in that moment about it, innovate. What kind of ideas do you have? What if we did this or did that? Doesn't have to all be in the moment. In the moment, at that point, it's kind of damage control and trying to prevent ourselves from controlling like a crazy person. But all of these steps can go on behind the scenes before and after.
And I like within the trust step too, I like thinking about reminding myself to just let it go, and not let it go like forget it happened, but have to give myself grace for what I did or wasn't able to do. If I yelled, if I did my best and it still didn't work, if my kid did their best and it still didn't work. And a lot of that is about self-forgiveness, but some of it is about forgiving our kids. Because
so we don't feel resentment.
Right. Sometimes I'll get in the car and just be like, ah! And all of a sudden my kid is just like, hey, and this in the window. And I'm like, I'm not over this yet. You might be over it, but about taking that moment to be like, this is going to get better. Holding a grudge in this moment isn't going to be helping anyone. but giving us both grace and forgiveness
Sure,
about
I love that. But I think that for me in these situations, it's helped the most to really just be trusting in their development and knowing that this neediness, this obnoxious whining and weird emotions in this time when I need them to help me, not to hold me back, is just a phase, and that helping them, trusting that helping them is not going to make them a 6-year-old who needs me to get them dressed.
That's the big picture.
That there's an ebb and flow in this that is going to be okay, and that my child is developing their skills and meeting their needs in a very fluid way that is not always predictable or easily to control, and that's okay. And I have to trust in that process and meet them where they are and see to those needs and see to my needs too.
Sure.
Yeah.
In conclusion.
What do you think? I feel like the 3 words that come to my mind, which you and I have been saying a lot more lately, is bring it on. These things and these morning trials and tribulations and the nighttime ones too, which we'll touch on soon in an upcoming episode, are just things that literally make me want to knock it out of bed in the morning or go to bed early. And it's so easy to think that they're out to get me. This isn't fair. Again, like the victim thing that you were saying, Hal. But those are thoughts and beliefs that aren't real and that disempower us and that disempower our kid and that disconnect our relationship sometimes. Yeah. And it happens and those thoughts come up. But what we're trying to do with Upbringing here is to rewrite those thoughts and to create new thoughts that are empowering, right?
Yeah.
And bring it on is saying, I'm the advocate, I'm the empath, I'm the creative, I'm the believer, and I want to raise a kid who's those 4 things too. And these morning things are an opportunity to elevate us both.
And it's so easy too to sort of, like you said, demonize our kid and think they're the problem. Why are they doing this to me?
Right.
And in rewriting that narrative, we're trying to say our kids are giving us this amazing gift to work a little harder, connect a little more lovingly, try to think about the big picture and trust in the process and grow up right alongside them.
And to slow down.
To slow down and think about it and work on it and know that it's all good and to lean into these hard times with that faith. And we can't always feel that. This is a lovely bring it on pep talk that we feel a small percentage of the time. But the more we do it, the easier it becomes and the more it gets in there. And the more we can kind of see that sliding doors experience. Like when I'm able to do it, whether it works or not, whether I still have to jam those feet in those shoes and grab the kid and take him out the door and do that, or whether that's happened on either side. Sometimes I feel really good because I tried all the steps and I could lean into it, and other times I just couldn't muster the effort. But holding those side by side and thinking about how I feel when I do both, I'm starting to try to do the lean into those challenges and the 4 powers more, because I end up feeling a lot better and I know that we're building a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that even if working the 4 powers didn't change the way outcome that our kids feel in a situation, it changes us. And I do believe that ultimately, if we change ourselves, then our kids can change and grow in that way too.
But I think that requires us rewriting this whole idea of what a successful outcome is, and having to change that in our brains. A successful outcome, usually in our brains, is everyone smiles and does everything we ask them to and toddles off to the car and it was a harmonious morning.
No big emotions, no resistance.
No big deal.
Yeah.
And what we've had to do is sort of rewrite what a successful outcome looks like in terms of saying a successful outcome now to us, what is that? It's that we showed our kid that they're human and that they're part of our family and that we value their voice and their individuality and their struggle, whatever it may be, however a big pain in the ass it is for us.
That we seek to understand them so that they can understand us, that we believe that they have true needs and developmental capabilities, and it's our job to support them. And so we make that clear that they're loved and that we're side by side with them.
Right, and success now also looks like us having leaned into those challenges to problem solve, to innovate, to get creative with our kid, to think around problems and through them and over them and under them to work.
Yeah, and then
What else does success look like?
Success ultimately means that no matter what we end up having to do, even if we have to follow through lovingly, that there's no resentment, that there's no failure, that nobody failed, that nothing bad happened, that we got this gift of these experiences together, that we can move on to the next one. There's always a fresh outfit tomorrow. That's the idea here. And we get to practice and do it again.
Yeah.
Give ourselves grace for that.
I think that's basically it.
I think that's it. Yeah. You're doing an amazing job.
Amazing.
We're proud of you. Proud of all of you. I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you too.
Yeah.
Cheers.
We're all in this together. Till next time. I get comfortable with most. Hey Froggy.
Hey.
Okay. Close the door maybe
Okay.
this time. Okay.
Come on.
All right, Frog-a-log.
Come on, Froggy.
Good boy. He needs a bath.
Where were we?
Okay.